Don, y ya después pasamos a preguntas de ustedes.
So, of course, excellent questions and insights. Let me take up the filtering question first. So, it's filtering by governments or at the mandate of governments that would constitute a prior restraint or prior censorship, at least under the First Amendment, right? So, I guess I can take this off. So, if it's filtering by some other entity, by some private entity, maybe one private entity, that would not constitute an unconstitutional prior restraint under the First Amendment. Now, I don't know how Article 13 would apply in that context. I know that we share this presumption against prior censorship and this presumption against the legality of prior restraints. In the United States context, though, that would apply only to filtering mandated by the government, not to filtering that some ISP just decides to engage in. However, that sort of goes to the first part of my talk, which I did describe in the beginning of my book. Filtering by ISPs would, under the concepts of net neutrality, under the provisions of net neutrality, would constitute a violation of those net neutrality mandates, right? Blocking of any lawful content. Now, if there's blocking of unlawful content by an ISP, then I assume we don't have an issue under net neutrality, because the net neutrality provisions only would apply to blocking or discriminating against lawful content. I mean, I think that the proper place in our free speech scheme, the proper place for filtering is by end users, right? You don't want pornography, then maybe ISPs are required, in some countries are required to make available very effective filtering technology that you as an end user can put to protect your kids or yourself or whatever from that sort of harmful speech. I think that's the appropriate place for filtering. And then if it's overbroad, some protected sexually themed expression also gets blocked, well, at least it only restricts you. And maybe you can find a better filtering program, right? Or maybe your ISP makes available a host of filtering programs and you can pick and choose. But filtering of lawful content by ISPs would violate net neutrality, this vision of net neutrality, and only filtering by governments or governments requiring ISPs to filter would be subject to the prior restraint provisions. Now, let me talk about Section 230 and the Communications Decency Act. This has been applied, as I say, extremely broadly in the United States, so that people who feel that their privacy has been violated, naked pictures of somebody up on the internet, please take them down. Please take those pictures down from Yahoo, for example. ISPs are immune even from notice-based liability under the Communications Decency Act, right? And are not regulated with any sort of duty to to screen, to pre-screen, to investigate, to see if there's any harmful content, or to take it down, unless and until it comes to the point where maybe they adopt the content as their own and they become the content provider itself. But so I think that there have certainly been criticisms within the United States legal community. One of my colleagues, for example, Dan Solov, who does a lot of work with informational privacy, has been critical of the way the CDA 230 provision applies in the privacy context. And of course, a lot of times the you know, the party who's doing the defaming or the privacy violating is not knowable, is not reachable, it does not have, you know, deep pockets, right? So there may not be a very helpful remedy at all, especially if you can't tell the ISP, if you can't require the ISP to take it down. So it's a balance, but it's a balance that's really tipped in favor of the, you know, the ISP's immunity.
Vamos a tomar varias preguntas, así ella puede...
We're going to take different questions. Please introduce yourselves.
And I'm Director of Public Policy
Thank you.
from Google Latin America. A question in connection with your analysis of net neutrality. Do you think that all the net neutrality regime has been set up in order to protect freedom of expression? Because I think that is an extrapolation of a system that has been designed to protect traffic of data packages rather than a speech that could have an extrapolation to free expression, but I don't think that is the main purpose. And I would like to be sure that I understood your point of view here.
¿Alguna otra?
Any other questions, Santiago? Yes, of course. These people use...
Los representan abogados. Como abogados representan a la sociedad o a los usuarios. ¿Cuál sería el equilibrio entre una entidad privada y una entidad pública? De acuerdo a esta base de razonamiento. Yo lo pregunto porque estoy diseñando un proyecto basado en Web Trust Legal, en Web Trust, en los cuales los profesionales, los abogados, tendrían este campo de acción para representar a los contenidos de las páginas web, a la acción de empresas, de entidades privadas, pero con una marcada diferencia entre el ámbito público y privado, ¿no? Una diferencia bien marcada. Entonces quería saber qué opina de esto.
¿Qué tal? Santiago Gini, abogado. No, mi pregunta iba en un sentido similar a la de Pedro. Si al final recién nombraste el Deep Packet Inspection y cuál es el rol del Data Privacy en lo que es el filtrado. Digamos, en la exposición claramente, bueno, hay una postura a favor de la libertad de expresión y de un montón de otros derechos, pero bueno, el crecimiento digamos, del Data Privacy, ¿qué rol juega en lo que es el filtrado y en la net neutrality en general?